13 times in that amount of time. So, the problem is that the moon's path is not just a simple circle around the Earth. It's sort of an ellipse. So sometimes it's closer, sometimes it's farther away. And it's on a tilt. It's 5 degrees above the plane of the sun and the Earth. And so sometimes it's above and the shadow goes above the Earth. Sometimes it's below and the shadow goes below the Earth. Only when it passes through that plane is everything just right to create these very unique events. So, this is sort of what you're seeing here. They're called nodes, and that's where the passage is through this plane. And of course, they only happen, twice in orbit for the moon. But still, everything has to be just the right thing. The shadow of the moon on the Earth is rather small. It's only about 120 miles in diameter. So that path, as it crosses across the Earth, only cuts a narrow slice across the surface. So in order to see the full effects of the event, you have to be in that little narrow pathway. Well, it's not always on land. Sometimes it's in the Antarctic, sometimes it's in the Arctic, lots of times it's in the ocean. So it's very rare to be in any one particular spot. So what are the 3 types of eclipses? Well, a partial eclipse means you're outside of that narrow path of visibility, where everything of the shadows is just in alignment. But still, part of the moon is going to cover the sun. October the 14th, last month, there was an annular eclipse of the sun. That's this lower one that you see over here, where the moon, in this case, is too far away from the Earth, so it's too small in the sky to totally cover the sun, and you get an annulus or ring of uncovered sunlight. The effects you see underneath there are much less than what you're going to see in a total eclipse. It's going to dim things down. It's going to get cooler. I just was on the center line for the annular eclipse in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I can tell you, there were thousands of people there for that also. The balloon fiesta also helped, but there were a lot of people there that specifically came into that area to view the eclipse. So they stayed in the hotels locally, they ate locally, they looked for souvenirs, t-shirts, hey, here's the eclipse, or a hat, anything else that they could take and bring back with them as a token of that special time and that special event. So when a total eclipse is when the moon is close enough that it's large enough to totally cover the surface of the sun. And when that happens, it's a whole different world. And I'll show you a picture of what it actually looks like. This is a picture, if you were looking in the sky, what the sun would be looking like. You would have this dark hole in the sky with this beautiful pearly corona around it, which changes shape depending upon solar activity. So we can't even predict what it's going to look like basically next year, because we don't know what the sun's activity is going to be like then. But if there's these filaments of gas that are rising high enough off the sun, they'll protrude over the edge of the moon and they'll appear as this pinkish red color. That's the color of hydrogen gas. Those are called prominences. And as the moon actually goes over the face of the sun, those last few seconds, it's like somebody took a gigantic rheostat on the whole sky and turned down the lights. And so off from the southwest, you're going to see this huge shadow of the moon coming up over the top of you. And all of a sudden, all around you is going to be twilight. It's going to be like over a half hour after sunset. The brighter stars and planets are going to be in the sky. Around you is going to be sunset for 360 degrees. And this is going to be at 3:18 in the afternoon. So it is and it's a once in a lifetime thing, and usually if you see it once, you want to come back and see it again, or wherever the next one's at. There's a lot of people that chase it. And we just had one on August the 21st of 2017, the last one that occurred over there. And so everybody that went to that one is going to want to come to this one. So they're going to travel from all over to get there to see this. And I'm talking about from Europe, from most of the United States, Alaska, you name it. These people will come. I can guarantee you. So, frequency. There's a total eclipse sometime somewhere on the Earth, approximately once every 18 months. But again, you have to travel to that place to be able to see it. In fact, each location is expected to see one only between once every 350 to 400 years. It is definitely a once in a lifetime event. Eclipses only cover a small portion of the Earth, as I said, and only last for a few minutes. But the people are going to want to get there, they're going to want to have to stay there somewhere, and they're going to have to want to eat. And they're going to make a vacation out of it, just to let you know, because that's what's going to happen. So, why are we so lucky? Of the last 4,500 years, there's only been 34 of the 1,761 eclipses that have occurred in this area. Of those, there were 16 total, 17 were the annular, and one was a hybrid. A hybrid means it's just exactly the same size as the sun, so it doesn't quite get totally dark like a total eclipse, but it's more than an annular eclipse. You can see a lot of the same things, but you're talking it only lasting fractions of a second or just a couple of seconds. So the last total eclipses for this area were in 1806 or 1925. Some of the area here saw the 1925 one, other sections did not. The next one, of course, is going to be April the 8th next year. But after that, October the 26th, 2144. 120 years later for the next one to occur. The last time we had an annular eclipse in this area was either on September 18th of 1838 or on May the 10th, 1994. And the next one won't occur until July the 23rd, 2093. And in the hybrid eclipses, only one. In that time span. So this is the path as it comes across. Anything inside that red band's on either side, if you're underneath there, that's where the moon's shadow is going to go across the Earth. And as you can see, it goes right up through the middle of Lake Erie. That's the center line. But you can't get in there unless you're in a boat or something, so what are they going to do? They're all going to flock to as close to the shoreline as they can get. So every town and city along the edge of Lake Erie is going to have everybody going towards it. Here you can see it just a little bit better. See, Buffalo's going to get 3 minutes, 42 seconds. Here, 3 minutes, 42 seconds. So, it's just as good, it'll be just as good a view here as what you'll have at Buffalo. So many people have already probably booked almost every single hotel in the area, but they're gonna look for bed and breakfast and anything else that's available, campgrounds and that. They're looking for these places to stay. But while they're staying there, then they gotta eat and everything else, so. And they're gonna shop and try to find entertainment and activities to do. So, these are pictures that I took. This is what the sky will look like during the total eclipse. That's how dark it will be. In an annular eclipse, this is how dark it is. World of difference between the two. It's an awe-inspiring thing. It'll be something that you'll never forget. And definitely Don't miss it. Now, the important things. Don't look at the sun without proper eye protection. Can't state this enough. You need to have either a way to project the sun. As an example, this is what they were giving out. These are two of the things that they were giving out in Albuquerque. What did they do? The cards that had information on it. It could be, you could have your business on there. You could have local attractions or something on there. And these could be given out to people that are coming and that. And it's got a hole in it. So what happens is the sun projects through that hole and onto the surface. You'll get an image of what's going on. That way, you know, you hold it like this, you're watching the projection down here, the sun and the moon are behind you, it's safe. Don't turn it around and try to look through that hole. That's defeating the point. Just to let you know. So, another way that they do it is they had postcards, little like postcards that had the information on it. In fact, this one here, they actually had little square mirrors, little reflectorized piece, and the light would hit that and project an image of it onto the ground. So what do we want to do? You want to have safe solar glasses. Make sure that they are ISO certified so that they will protect your eyes. You need these on to look at the sun until totality occurs. Then you take them off and observe the beauty of the event. And just before it changes back and the first vestiges of sunlight come out, you put it back on again. Now, don't try using your cell phones either. Your cell phones are just as subject to damage from the sun until totality, but you can use your projected glasses or a viewer and put it in front of your cell phone and take an image. And I saw some really good ones in Albuquerque that were taken with cell phones. I mean, they were very, very good, but they projected them through a solar filter. We at the Observatory, I know, have them, but did that. The other thing that they also did very carefully is they had a brochure. They had a brochure out telling people where to go to look and view, or where they could park. So, if you had an area where you had a field or an area, a complex where you can have an event or a festival, you can have people selling food at these areas, because people are going to get hungry while they're waiting, because they're going to be there hours beforehand, and then they're going to wait to try to get out of there, and it's going to be hours before they get out. So they're going to want food, restrooms, cars are going to need gasoline. Many of the places I've been at, restaurants have ran out of food. There's no toilet facilities left and available. Gas stations said, well, we can't help you. Or food places say, well, we can make your family one sandwich, because that's all we have. It'll happen. It happened in 2017. Well, weather prospects. 10-year average cloudiness for this area. 68% chance of clouds in the sky. Doesn't mean it's going to totally cover the whole sky or totally cloudiness, but a third of it, 2/3 of it may be covered with clouds. 40% average coverage though for the last 10 years. So chances are as good here as they are in Texas of being able to see the eclipse. And that's going to draw people to this area. This was last year. Last year we were clear on April the 8th. There was a storm over that, but all the clouds were south and east of us. That's one of the effects of the lake. 25-year average, 61% chances of some kind of coverage of clouds in the sky. Last 10 years, 6 days of the last 10 years was less than 40% clouds at the the time of the eclipse. So this is the biggie right here, okay? So if you look across the path, these are major highways that are leading into the area. So New York State, the anticipated right now, based on the 2017 eclipse, is that Western New York or New York State as a whole can expect a minimum of 129,000 people coming in to see this event. But the maximum, it says here, is 515,000 people. That could be even more, because they're all looking to come in here from all these areas to be able to see this. Now, there's a limited number of roads in that. That's where the congestion and the problems come in, especially after the eclipse is done. During the eclipse, people will be parking along the edges of roads if they can't find a spot to be. So it's going to be a traffic nightmare, just to let you know. So my first warning is to everybody is, if you yourselves can stay at home, please do so, just because we don't want you to get stuck in the traffic somewhere. At least the schools are looking to be closed, because this is at 3:18 in the afternoon. Do you want your kids stuck on a bus for hours trying to get home from school? It would be an absolute nightmare. So, how many people are in the path? Almost 32 million people. Within 100 miles driving range is another 75 million people. And I can guarantee you, as time goes on, more and more of those people are going to want to see that event. And they're going to go to the closest places they can. So, Philadelphia, New York City, Washington, D.C., where are they going? They're going the closest spots available. Where's it at? Here, for many of them. And so here's just how long does it take to drive there, okay? Orange is is up to 2 hours to get towards the center line. Here's 4 hours, here's 6 hours. So these people are going to drive 6 hours to see an event of once in a lifetime. And so this is the opportunity that you as businesses here have. But it's on a Monday, and people are going to be hungry. So if the food stores are closed, where are they going to eat? Where are they going to find restrooms to do their business and stuff? That's what's up to you guys. So on that note, I'm just going to sign off, and if you have any other questions later, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Thank you, Tom. And I realize, I don't know that I did a great job kicking the session off, but certainly if you're here and you read the articles, you understand our reason as the Chamber of Commerce for pulling this session together today, and that is to help explain and highlight what the total solar eclipse is. We have heard a lot of questions from folks who are either, kind of not aware yet that it's happening, and then also aware, but the comment is often like, wait, it's that big? And then, as I think Tom did a great job throughout the presentation, starting to tease and highlight why it is such a big deal and why there is so much opportunity for our local businesses. So thank you very much, Tom. And next, we're going to call up our Director of Emergency Services in Chautauqua County, Noel Guttman. I had the opportunity to hear a teaser of one of Noel's presentations, and I hope it's okay to say this. I think you kicked it off at our presentation at Rotary that you started looking into researching and learning about the eclipse from obviously the emergency services side. It kind of quickly became an excitement and kind of passion project for you. So I'm excited for you to share today. I'll get your presentation queued up.
So in full disclosure, he stole some of my thunder.
Sorry.
He was at my first presentation I did, and So some of the repetitive information we'll just kind of skip right over, but it's almost like we planned our presentations together because they're going to mirror off of each other. So as Dan said, my name's Noel. I'm with the Chautauqua Emergency Services. I do know a couple people in the room. Like I said, real quick, my background as emergency services goes back to April 1991 when I joined the fire department. And I've been in law enforcement for 30 years. I'm still doing that. And paramedic, tech rescue, hazmat. I don't like free time, so I just find more hobbies. I kind of jokingly say that I wish I'd paid more attention to earth science in high school. I'm making up for that now. This has become very interesting, and I like to say it's very historically and scientifically significant for us. And he said it once or twice, it's a once in a lifetime event. It's a once in a generational event for us. It's going to be really, really interesting. We touched on a couple of these numbers here. Like you said, 120 years from now is the next one, so we don't get a do-over. What we do now is going to lay the groundwork for 20 years from now, is the next one, 2045. People will be looking at what we did, because I've been trying to steal as much work as I can find from people in 2017 and their after-action reports and look through their mistakes. We don't get a do-over. We're setting the groundwork for people from 20 years and further for us. So it's not like, well, the next time we can do it this. No, it's this time. It's one time. And we'll, an interesting, kind of to highlight what he said, just some of your total and annular eclipses. It's like he said, it's a very unique and historic event. So this is truly a once in a lifetime for us. And my first exposure to this was a few months ago at the Western New York Regional Emergency Managers meeting. And an educator from the UB came in and was super excited, made him look calm. And, said how historic an event, and he chased it all over the world. And we're all like, yeah, whatever, who cares? This is, okay, 3.5 minutes of darkness. He's like, no, you don't understand. 3.5 minutes of darkness is cool, but it's everything else that goes with it of why this is important. New York State and and FEMA started to call us the largest mass travel day in U.S. history. You already just saw this, but half the U.S. population lives within 250 miles of the path. 250-mile drive to see something significant is not a big deal. Heck, I'll drive to Rochester just for lunch. I don't care. So a once-in-a-lifetime event, people are going to drive all over the country for. Just kind of breaks it down, just to give you a clear picture. The two red lines represent the 120-mile path of totality. The blue line is the middle. He mentioned Lake Erie. One of my concerns in emergency management is Lake Erie itself. And in talks with the Coast Guard, and he mentioned it, a lot of people want to be in the middle of the path. Well, if the water's open, what better place? I want to be on my boat in the middle of the path. Coast Guard's expecting from Detroit to Niagara Falls, tens of thousands of people on Lake Erie. We have like 3 boats that can go out there in emergency services. Okay, so this is good. This is a logistical problem for the emergency services side. 29 counties in New York State are going to be fully covered or partially covered. So this is a large scale event for New York. Like when you look at that map of Pennsylvania, it's just a small little chunk. You can see there, New York, almost half of the state is definitely involved in this. And a lot of states, a lot of areas are seeing, there's a lot of good opportunity coming up for us. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the doom and gloom and also a little bit about the opportunities this is presented that I've seen from the after action reports. Another picture of it, just to show you some of the municipalities that are in that path. A few weeks ago, I read a national publication, I forget which one it was, and it was listing the top sites in the country to view this event. 4 of the top sites: Cleveland, Erie, Buffalo, Niagara Falls. We're right in the middle of 4 of the 10 places they said are the great places to see this event. For lack of a better term, traffic is going to be the biggest assault that we have on our infrastructure around here. I'll talk quite a bit more about that. Some of the assumptions of the event, we already said it's April 8th, it's a Monday. I have been and will continue to be very vocal that the schools need to close. I have upset some school superintendents and some higher educational people that feel that's their decision to make. He said it exactly as I would say. I would not want my child stuck on a bus for hours. Okay? What happens at 3:16 p.m. in the afternoon? Kids are going home. There's lots of those big yellow tubes driving down the road. I don't want my children, my grandchildren, my friends' children to be on the bus during this event. This is the first day back from spring break. It's a once in a lifetime event. School calendars can be adjusted. Okay? We're looking at it as a 5-day event. People are gonna start coming in on that Friday. They're gonna make that weekend of it. One of the things that, and this is just a personal view I've noticed of it, is one of the things that we in Chautauqua County, we thrive on is tourism. We promote that, we live for it. So now people are thinking, you know what, I summer at Chautauqua. I wanna go see this, I'm going back to where I know. So that whole weekend is going to be extremely busy. Calls for emergency services, hospitalizations, fire and police calls skyrocket during these events from all the after action reports. But oh wait, there's more. April 8th is right in the middle of the New York State burn ban. So I'm prepping, working with our 42 fire departments. Oh yeah, that just dawned on you? So what happens when you have large groups of people in fields? Accidental fires, campfires, discarded smoke materials, there's a lot of potential problems that are gonna arise from this event. It's just problems, but not negativities, I guess is the best way to say it. One of the hardest things to anticipate is the number of people we're truly gonna see. Numbers I'm getting, and from the state and looking at places, we have a potential of seeing 50 to 250,000 people in Chautauqua County that weekend and for the duration of the event, with the large majority of those coming in on Monday. Right now, we're estimating approximately 1 million people traveling through the county in that weekend, getting up to that Buffalo-Niagara region. That's a lot of cars on Interstate 90. Well, wait, there's more. New York State, their infinite wisdom, has decided to do the I-86 bridge construction project. And that will be down to like possibly 1 lane. So I-86, which is gonna have an enormous amount of traffic, is also going to be problematic, just because of the traffic. Okay? I laugh at that because there's nothing else we can do about it. Okay? Visitors are gonna trickle in over the event. Like I said, they're gonna start coming in on Friday. Hotels, last night, I went on hotels.com, searched Jamestown, New York. I wanted to come in on April 7th and leave on April 8th. It was $900. If I'm spending $900 at a hotel in Jamestown, it better come with about an $850 rebate. Okay? Little bit more than I want to spend for that, but that is what happens. These hotels get booked up. A lot of them have been booked up for over 2 years for the people that have known about this long since before we did, because they knew they wanted to come here. Hotel space is going to be at a premium. We talk about assumptions for the other event. People are going to travel without planned lodging. I'm just going to wing it. Let's go. Okay, that's going to create a whole other logistical nightmare. Eclipse chasers, they're going to say, you know what? I don't like the cloud covers, the weather, whatnot from here, and they're going to try and keep bouncing along that path that you saw. So that could be another problem. I went and did a 50-year history, and it said 56% chance of cloud covers that day. Also with an average temperature of 48 to 52 degrees. Now, what was it, 10-degree drop?
Yep.
Average 10-degree drop during the incident. So now we have, from an emergency services standpoint, we have a concern of cold-related injuries. People that are under, they just brought a light jacket, light sweater, and now it's 32 degrees outside. So on the emergency planning side, we need to be prepared for those the hypothermic patients. Okay. Now that's some of the stats that we already talked about. Roughly 3:15 p.m. across the Ripley and New York side. I've been told he can definitely answer it better. It's going to start getting dark for 40-ish minutes before, start getting light 40 minutes afterwards, and that's kind of the science behind it. I'm not going to do the science. I'm going to leave the people that know way better than I do. Okay. A lot of people are going to want to look for this place. They're going to look for rooftops, hilltops, places that don't have artificial light. Okay, parking lot, roads become parking lots, fields become mass gathering areas. Okay, so that's just some of the things we need to be looking for. Our roadways are going to be highly utilized. The after action reports 2017 show that cell towers became congested, and getting out on your phone calls wasn't that great. Didn't work that well. Okay. So some businesses that might rely on, you know, if they're doing certain venues and always rely to talk to their staff on cell phones, you might wanna look at getting those little hunting radios to communicate with your staff as a backup communication plan. You know, plan for those things. One of the things I like to say is, you know, I spent a few years as a special agent at the railroad police up in Buffalo. And we dealt with a lot of train car accidents, and we always said, we didn't know when our train car accidents were gonna be, we knew where the road and the rails meet. This incident, we have the advantage of knowing exactly when and exactly where this is gonna hit us, so we can plan for it, okay? You know, and proper planning is gonna prevent, you know, bad performance. Travel reports, you can, from August 17. You know, most people wanna leave within 2 hours after the event. And a majority of them wanna leave within 15 minutes after totality. What happens when everybody wants to be on the roads at the same time? Becomes parking lots. One of the national messages that we're trying to get out is come early, stay late. Don't plan to leave until Tuesday. Don't plan, have events that keep them here till Wednesday. Capitalize on this once in a lifetime event. Okay? Traffic up to 13 hours, rural areas were affected. I like this last one. For hours after totality, almost every interstate route passing through the path showed red on Google traffic maps. That also is part of the reason why your cell towers are so jammed up, is who uses their phone for GPS? I know I do, rely on it, okay? All that stuff is gonna work to work against, you know, the cell towers. So if you're traveling, you know, go old school, have a backup atlas, backup paper maps, you know. You touched on it a little bit, gas stations, we ran out of gas, they weren't expecting it. This is one of the projects I'm taking on, trying to get with our gas stations and our local fuel suppliers, like, listen, make sure you're dumping more fuel, getting that ahead of time, especially for our emergency vehicles, our DPW workers. You know, that we don't want those vehicles to run out of fuel, but we wanna make sure that that doesn't happen. One of the messages that will be coming out in my office multiple times is prepare like it's a winter storm. Don't wait till Friday of the event to go get your groceries, make sure you have them ahead of time. Make sure your medications that you need have been ordered and are stocked ahead of time, because what's gonna happen in a lot of places, oh, I'm traveling up from wherever, I need my medication, I'll have it sent to Westfield CVS, because that's where I'm gonna be staying, and then they just run out of everything because so many people traveled in. Those are a little bit of logistical things. You heard restaurants and grocery stores ran dry, they weren't ready for it. So, you know, out from the business side of it, you know, plan to get that extra food supplies in ahead of time, so you can, you know, you guys know what you can handle, start getting those supplies built up ahead of time. The good news is, they showed record income. When you read these after action reports, the amount of money that was spent in the path was ridiculous. Municipalities saw large rises in you know, sales tax, bed tax, those type of things. So the good news is, this is going to be could be a very profitable time. And on the tourism side, a lot of communities are really actively trying to bring people into their areas, and they're advertising, hey, we know this is coming, come spend it with us. They're making special packages, special events. I know so far there's a couple of places in Chautauqua County that are having planned events. So as those become more and more, we get a lot more advertised. You know, again, that's just a couple I just pulled off from a quick search just to show, you know, the advertising's out there. People are, even if they're going to Genesee County, they may very well be driving through our community to get there, okay? 2017, some breweries took really good Total Eclipse the Tart beer, Trail and Totality Ale. You know, I heard we got wineries here. This is a great time to, you know, to come up with a gimmick to sell this. You know, this is where you guys in the business side have a great opportunity presented to you. So take advantage of what we can. You know, some of the questions I'm trying to answer and get on our county emergency plan is, you know, if we do have these large events, are we gonna have some type of shuttling service with the county cart system, if that's available? You know, that's a possibility. Trying to work with the different bureaus to make sure that our Eclipse viewing events are listed. We are a rural farming community, and we don't want the farmers' winter wheat crops to be damaged, so we need to try and get some of that messaging out that, you know, just because it's an open field doesn't mean it's just a free-for-all field. So we want to protect our local farmers' infrastructure. You know, advise about warm clothing. Yeah, my life revolves around 2 golden retrievers at home that run my wife's life, okay? How many people are gonna travel with their pets? If we have 50,000 people come in, and they bring out 25,000 animals, another aspect we're working with our health department in my office is making sure our veterinarians and veterinary hospitals are, you know, up for the game a little bit to take care of our furry friends that might need some medical help, okay? You know, and most people nowadays don't do anything without looking at websites. I know I'm one of those. If I'm gonna do something, I research it probably more than I should. But if I'm going somewhere, you know, I wanna look to see what does that website have to say about it? Are they gonna be open? I would encourage anybody, unfortunately, a lot of times here in Chautauqua County, in a lot of places, and we're not gonna be open on Sundays. I know one of my favorite diners, they're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. I would really recommend that business owners be open that entire weekend and that day off, if you want to, you know, look to be part of this record-breaking sales event. You know, New York State, this is from New York State presentation. They realize that the tourism and marketing, you know, they're putting it out there as well. The state hasn't put out any programs to assist in it, but they recognize this is a huge component of the overall planning of it. You know, August 2017, Eclipse drew nearly 20 million American adults to other locations than their homes to get a better glimpse of the event. People are gonna be traveling. Traveling, you know, dictates needs. So that's where we all come in. And like I said, last night, La Quinta Inn in Jamestown was almost $800 for a single room. Now you can still stay in Uncle Chuck's budget in the backyard shed for like $85 if you want to risk it. But you know the good hotels have been booked. I have not seen it around here. I've seen it nationally. Some hotels, people well in advance booked their rooms and got an email. Oh, by the way, if you still want that room you booked 2 years ago, instead of $200, is now $900. So I've not heard that around here, but that is happening. So there are, unfortunately, some people and businesses are looking to price gouge and super capitalize on this event. How can I better prepare? You prepare like it's a winter storm coming. That's the, you know, we all know what a winter storm does around here. That's the best analogy we can come up with. If you know what's coming, you heard him say, you don't have to leave to watch this event. The entire county is going to be involved. We are completely in the path of totality. So you don't need to go somewhere better. You know, if you're gonna stay here, you know, 2 weeks ahead of time, just get your stuff that you need, so you're not part of that rush on the stores. You know, that goes for the businesses as well. You guys know what you need, and if you're gonna expect more, plan for those supplies coming in as quick as you need it to. Plan, and head for supplies, scheduling and personal needs. You know, there's a potential, you know, your employees, you know, if they might need to stay there, make sure, hey, bring a change of clothes, you're sleeping in the back tonight. You know, plan for those events so they don't have to happen. It's better to be prepared for something you don't need. I always kind of use the adage of a spare tire in your car. Does anybody want to use their spare tire? No, you have it there because you might need it in a worst case scenario. So use that mentality when you're planning. Think, this might just really suck for a day or two. I want to be prepared that if I have to live at my business or out of my car or whatever, have those supplies, and then hope you don't need them. You know, obviously, you know, like I said, the websites, that was just a screenshot. This is where a lot of people are getting this information, and this will help us bring those tourism dollars and keep them here in the county, as opposed to just that pass through up to the Buffalo-Niagara region. You know, one of the biggest things we'll be doing is a media campaign through our office and the county executive's office, and a multifaceted media campaign, meaning email, press releases, website updates, you know, stuff like this. Viewing glasses. You go on Amazon right now, you can find page after page after page. Don't just buy the cheapest ones, buy the right ones. So that's one of the, you know, I found that off from Rochester area. Our county health department's kind of spearheading that with us to get that right message out of, if you're gonna buy glasses, do it, you know, this is what you look for, make sure you're doing it right, you know? So we might be looking to have, you know, that type of signage put around the county and different businesses that, you know, people can help support and get that message out right. You know, like that was just a screenshot from Amazon. Don't just buy the cheapest ones, buy the right ones. And buying them, especially if you were a business that offers health insurance, buy them and give them to your employees. We know that at 3:15 in the afternoon, everyone's gonna be outside watching this. Okay, we know where everyone's gonna be. So if you give them the glasses, which aren't that incredibly expensive, to your employees, give them your glasses, you might prevent some healthcare insurance costs down the road from the guy that doesn't have them, went outside and looked up at it. So it might be a little investment towards your insurance cost. There's a ton of resources. 511 New York is a real-time traffic app. Looks just like Google Maps. If you go onto Google and just start Googling 2024 Eclipse, you can go down so many rabbit holes, as I have done, and get a ton of information. There is no lack of information out there. A great source for information, not just for this event, but for everyday living in New York. Does anyone here sign up with New York Alert? Thank you, Kathy. New York Alert is a New York State program. One of the really good programs New York State does have, that actually works very well. Free service, you can go on to New York Alert, just Google New York Alert, follow the prompts to sign in. You can sign up for everything from weather alerts to sex offenders in your area that get released to emergency alerts, everything. And you can say, you know what, I want Chautauqua and Cattaraugus County because my family lives in Noel. Or I want to know the entire state. Your phone will never stop blowing up. Okay? I can tell you with 100% certainty, New York Alert will be used during this incident, as ways to getting mass notifications out to the public. It is a very good free service. It takes about 5 minutes to sign up. I highly suggest it. Getting that out there, it's a great way to keep informed. It'll send out push notifications. And the nice thing is when you go in there, you can say, I'm not a boater, I don't care about water advisories on Lake Erie, but I care about the weather alerts and emergencies and shelter in place type things. So I would strongly suggest you go to New York Alert and do that. And along that same line, our office does have an app. Everything's app based now. This is a free app. I do have cards up here that have that QR code on it. I would encourage you to take a card, scan that app. We're doing things through there. 511 is on there. Another great one is how many of us love when our power's out, right? What's the first question when the power goes out? How long until it comes back on, and how much is affected? Is anyone here, who's National Grid customer here? Do you have the National Grid app on your phone? On the National Grid app, which is a link, this first one here, View Power Outages right here. This is a link to both the National Grid and NYSEG Power Outage map. You click on that, it'll show you a Google map with the affected area, how many people, when the job's been assigned, and an estimated completion date. So things like that. So we're going to push notifications to our app to help you get word out, not just for this event, but for everyday stuff in any type of emergency situation. So that's all I really have right now. Obviously I'll be here. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And turn it back over to Dan. Thanks for your time.
All right, our last presentation here is from one of our very close partners at the Chautauqua County Visitors Bureau, Andrew Nixon. Hope I pronounced that right. And I know Scott is here from your team as well. You've been doing a lot of information on and preparation on the Eclipse, and my favorite tagline is turn 4 minutes into 4 days.
Which Scott came up with.
Great tagline, Scott, and with that I'll give you the presentation.
That's great. Well, is everybody ready for this? It's a little scary. I think that's one of the keys is we have to get ready for what's going to be happening, and from a business perspective as well, just the opportunity to take care of or take advantage of revenue possibilities and also capacity issues at tourism businesses. So going to the next slide, this has been stated over and over, but I'll just sum it up in my own way. You hear the term path of totality so often, and a lot of people don't really know what it means until you see slides like that. But a non-scientific way of looking at it is it means the best and the longest viewing opportunity for the eclipse. And Tom made that point really clear that people from either side of that totality line are just gonna flock to our area and areas also along the path like a magnet. It's just gonna naturally happen. We will talk about promotion a little bit, but there's just gonna be a natural propensity for this. We don't really have any number estimates on how busy it will be, but we're figuring the area will be at least as busy as a summer weekend. So that's quite a bit different than what normally happens in early April, which is usually a completely dead period of time. And that could be a gross underestimate, but we're using that as sort of a guidepost that in the summer, on a weekend, everybody's open, everybody's ready, and we need to start thinking that way. It's likely that hotels will fill up. We're trying to check and see what's actually full already versus having an exorbitant rate. We know they are publicizing exorbitant rates at this point already. The idea of 4 minutes and turn it into 4 days is to try to dissipate some of the effect and get people to come here over a multi-day period of time. We think the busiest day will be Sunday evening, and hotels will be Sunday evening, and then possibly Monday for those who stay over and we can convince to stay in the area, with Saturday probably equaling somewhere in between Sunday and Monday. And really it would be nice to get everything put together on a 4-day package basis. So that's kind of our objective, and that's, I think, what led Scott come up with that great phrase, 4 minutes, 4 days. We are developing information, and this is a new thing for us, but we're a bit in the dark, to use a pun, on what to do. So we are looking at other areas, and the thing we've realized is, most businesses just are not there yet. They're only starting to think about things now or not at all, and that we have to sort of be ready with a structure for them to provide information to us. And so we've tried to get in front of that a little bit, and again, that's an area where Scott works in the office, and we've been trying to develop a system using the infrastructure of information that we already have to try to set that up. And so we use Tour Chautauqua primarily, and there's an example of an event that shows up. But on the next slide, these are some of the components we have. We've started with a landing page. So a special page on the website that's designated for Eclipse information. And this can grow, this can expand, so as we learn more from different entities and try to tie in with what the county wants us to let people know, we can do that. You can click on that first one, Dan. So just scrolling down, a nice view, some information. Of course, we're plugging the area, trying to get people to see that there are things to do here. And this is all flexible, changeable information, but we have a link to safety tips, and then we have these 3 boxes here. And the boxes take you to different places, and we're talking about, we really need more boxes. This is our general sort of structure, but we need more information links. The first one, if you click that, that's viewing spots. So we reached out to businesses and said, do you want to be cited as a viewing location? We see those more as parks and open areas rather than smaller businesses or say a specific restaurant. But there's wineries like Noel Winery that has a hilltop location and a big open space. They lend themselves naturally to being a viewing location. So these are people who've responded so far. But if you click on any of them, one thing that most of them have in common, I don't want to go to Liberty because she's in the room. But most of the other ones they haven't really provided much information that's specific to the Eclipse. We kind of just say this is an Eclipse viewing location, but they need to start thinking about things and giving that information to us. And some of the key considerations are parking. Is there going to be any parking? And what about it? Restrooms, will there be restrooms? People will be there for hours. And it could be, if it's Memorial Park in Dunkirk, which could be a great location, they're going to need restrooms, and they want to know in advance that there's restrooms. Will there be any food or beverage availability? Again, this is maybe not a restaurant or a hotel, It could just be a park or a beach even. Is there a warming station? You know, there were some nice things the town presented showing how it may not be cloudy and it may not be cold, but it actually may be cold as well. There could be snow on the ground, but Lake Erie could be iced in still. So, you know, we want to have consideration for warming stations and then viewing glasses. So these are some key considerations we want people to let us know about, but also just what are they doing? You know, what's the deal at your place? What's the setup? You have to think the whole thing through. And then if you go to events, there are some people that are just going to plan like a party or an event, or it's not a big public viewing site, but it might be a restaurant that just has an invitation. So you see some things are going on before the eclipse, but our event calendar is structured so that these can be published. So the Lake Erie KOA is putting out a whole 4 or 5 day period of information, so you can click on that and see what it is. And again, I mentioned that this kind of is all built on the backbone of how our website and information services work, so we can expand this and add to this over time. We're on a bit of a quandary as to how to deal with all the lodging properties and the restaurants and the attractions that decide that they will be open and that they want to be publicized. Couple of issues related to that. You know, we would have to change every listing on our website just to plug in some Eclipse related information at the beginning, which we may do, but Scott's come up with an idea just to sort of create special pages on the website that are simply just a list of, you know, we're open, here's our address, our contact information, and a link to additional information. And these would be places that commit to being open. So rather than, you know, the full restaurant list that's already on our website, having some reference to the eclipse and some not reference being open for the eclipse, we want to just list the ones that commit to being open. And that is a big deal in this time frame because many restaurants are closed that time of the year. Some of the seasonal locations like Demas Point, Findlay Lake, and things like that. And many restaurants are just closed in general on Monday. It's like of the 7 days of the week, Monday is the most closed day of all of them. So we're having to convince people, or we just want to be able to respond to people that they're going to be open. And the same for attractions. We're trying to sell the area as a multi-day experience. We'll list attractions that commit to being open on those days, and we might find some places change their normal schedule. They want to be specifically known as open, and then we'll take the user, the consumer, to detailed information. But we'll also be publicizing through like blog posts or itinerary suggestions, some good groups of experiences that you can do for a day or a 2 or a 3 day visit, so that people have it in mind. It's worth it to come for that amount of time. So we can go to the next slide. I just talked about lodging properties, restaurants, attractions, shops, galleries, and services. They'll all go on those extra pages that the Chautauqua website will have. Marketing, we're just also starting to think about marketing. We've talked about it, we really haven't started making ad placements yet. Here's the example of the flyer and the slogan that Scott created, turn 4 minutes into 4 days of total fun. I didn't get the whole thing out before, Scott. I just remembered part about 4. But we're gonna focus mainly on digital and social media ad placements, which let us kind of really, you know, target the timing, the location, the messaging. They're not out there or as expensive as print ads, so we may look at something like that. And we're really taking this kind of cautiously. We want to kind of get a sense of, you know, hearing some of the numbers today. Even those are big numbers. You know, if we're finding out that hotels are actually already full, then we have to be cautious about the kind of advertising. But we do want to advertise using digital and social media, if necessary, within that sort of 1 to 5 hour driving radius. We don't usually market to the west of that line. It's just far away, it's expensive, we don't have enough money to do so. But with digital placements, we're more likely to be able to get into those markets. But that includes places like Chicago, Detroit, a lot of busy areas. We are gonna develop a, informational rack card. It will have a QR code that, so you can see there's a QR code in the flyer too. That will take people to that first landing page. So that's the starting point from which they can find all the other information. We'll probably make a flyer or a poster. I did like the idea that I think you brought up, that at some point people will develop a viewing site brochure. That would be something we kind of do in the last couple of weeks, probably prior to people arriving. I'm sure it will change and change and change until the last second. And there are digital screens that we have and that the chamber has in the program, and other locations around the county where we can put this messaging up. I know the chamber digital screens are in the window, so people walking around Jamestown can see this kind of information. So it can be about the Eclipse in general, maybe a shot like that, or it could even be about specific Eclipse parties or events and things going on. But there's an opportunity there. What's the last slide? This, again, is just, if there's anything that we wanted to achieve today, it's to get businesses to think about what is their plan, and then to start to share that information with people that can put the information out there, like the Visitors Bureau and the Chamber of Commerce, so that consumers can, and local residents as well, can see that information. And in the same way that we're going to link to county emergency services and other important things, we hope that they will link to us to get certain questions answered. The last bullet point here, areas like, the Jamestown Chamber of Commerce office, or the Bemis Point Business Association, or the Findlay Lake Group, they should really do their own kind of piece as well as what we're doing on a countywide basis, so that when people do come or when they do get calls, and some of them have information centers of their own, that there's something there for everything you can do in Findlay Lake, as well as, are there any rules and regulations and things to be aware of? So we're trying to encourage that to happen as well. And then I think we're on the last slide. So even though I'm talking here today, it's really Scott Shelters who's doing everything. So raise your hand again, Scott. He's real good at dealing with people and the information that they're trying to give him. And his email is communications@tourchautauqua.com. There's our phone number. We also have some cards here if people would like to take them. So with that, Dan?